My gut told me something was wrong with the new coach. I should have listened. The first time I saw Coach Brennan, he was standing in the gymnasium doorway wearing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. My 14-year-old son Alex was stretching with the other varsity basketball players, and I'd come early to pick him up from practice. Brennan caught me watching and walked over with that calculated stride that screamed authority. His handshake lasted 3 seconds too long, his grip just slightly too firm. "You must be Alex's dad," he said, his voice smooth like honey over gravel. "He's got real potential, natural athlete, great form." The way he said that last word made something twist in my stomach, but I smiled back and thanked him for taking an interest in Alex's development. Coach Williams had retired suddenly after 23 years, citing family health issues. The parents were devastated. Williams had been a father figure to half the team, a man who taught discipline and respect alongside basketball fundamentals. His replacement came with sterling credentials from a private academy upstate, complete with championship rings and glowing references. The athletic director practically glowed when announcing Brennan's hiring. "We're lucky to have someone of his caliber," Director Ramos had said at the parent meeting. "His teams have consistently reached state championships." The other parents nodded approvingly. I nodded too, but something felt off. The changes started small. Brennan instituted longer practices, extending sessions from 2 hours to 3 without consulting parents. He introduced individualized training protocols that meant certain players stayed after regular practice for additional work. Alex was selected for this special group along with 5 other boys. When I asked what the extra training involved, Brennan's answer was vague. Advanced conditioning, mental toughness exercises, specialized skill development. He emphasized that not all players were ready for this level of commitment. "Your son shows exceptional promise," he told me, placing his hand on my shoulder. "I'd hate to see him fall behind because of parental interference." The warning was subtle but clear. At first, Alex seemed energized by the attention. He came home talking about new drills and techniques, proud to be part of Brennan's inner circle. But within weeks, I noticed changes. Alex became quieter at dinner, more reluctant to discuss practice. His usual chatter about teammates and game strategies dwindled to one-word answers. When I asked if everything was okay, he'd shrug and say, "Practice was fine, coach was fine, everything was fine." But his eyes wouldn't meet mine, and he'd retreat to his room earlier each night. His grades, previously solid B's and A's, started slipping. His math teacher called to express concern about Alex's attention span and apparent exhaustion. The first red flag I couldn't ignore came during a home game in October. I was sitting in the bleachers when I saw Brennan pull Alex aside during halftime. The conversation looked intense. Brennan leaning close, his hand on Alex's shoulder, then moving to his chest, then lower to his hip as he demonstrated some technique. He kept stepping back, but Brennan kept closing the distance. Other players and parents were nearby, but nobody seemed to notice. When Alex returned to the court for the second half, he was visibly shaken. His shots were off, his passing sloppy. After the game, I approached Brennan to ask about Alex's performance. "Growing pains," he said dismissively. "Some boys need more personal attention to reach their potential." I started paying closer attention to Brennan's interactions with the team. During practices I could observe through the gym windows, I noticed patterns. He had favorites, always the same 5 or 6 boys Alex's age with similar builds. He'd position himself close to these players during drills, his hands frequently on their bodies under the guise of correction. The touching seemed excessive, lingering longer than necessary on lower backs, thighs, shoulders. He'd whisper instructions directly into their ears, standing behind them with his chest pressed against their backs. When parents weren't watching, his behavior became more pronounced. I started documenting what I saw, taking notes on my phone about specific incidents and times. The overnight tournament in November sealed my suspicions. Brennan insisted on rooming arrangements that separated his special training group from the other players. He claimed it was to maintain focus and eliminate distractions. When I suggested chaperoning the trip, he politely declined. "Too many adults creates confusion for the boys," he explained. "They need to learn independence and trust their coach completely." Most parents nodded in agreement, grateful to have a weekend free. But something about his insistence on isolation bothered me. I tried to voice my concerns to other parents, but they brushed me off. "You're being overprotective," Alex's friend's mother told me. "Coach Brennan has an incredible track record." Alex returned from the tournament different, quieter, more withdrawn, jumping at unexpected sounds. He had bruises on his ribs that he claimed came from an aggressive scrimmage with the opposing team. But the bruises were in strange places, not typical basketball injuries. When I asked for details about the tournament, his answers were rehearsed, like he'd been coached on what to say. "We won both games. Coach taught us new strategies. The hotel was fine, but he wouldn't elaborate, wouldn't share the usual stories about teammate antics or funny moments. Instead, he went straight to his room and didn't come down for dinner. I found him later that night sitting on his bed, staring at the wall. When I asked what was wrong, he started to speak, and what he told me changed everything. Full story is linked below or on my channel.